Alright, hello, citizens of the Nigelverse. It's Nigel here once again, and this is going to be another wrestling review. This match may have been billed as such, but is this indeed the greatest wrestling match ever? Well, no. But that was probably a given. You probably knew it wasn't going to be the actual greatest wrestling match ever. I knew it back then. Everybody knew it back then. But how close do they get? And how will I feel about this match rewatching it for the first time in 5 years? Let's find out. I am, of course, talking about Edge versus Randy Orton in the quote unquote greatest wrestling match ever at Backlash 2020. So, as always, well, first of all, as always, I'm going to take a sip of my water here, but as always, I am not a professional wrestling reviewer or analyst or anything like that. Just a man who enjoys a good time, and I would say I had a pretty good time with this match. This match, match, which we're going to obviously get into, real quick before you get into it, and before I get into my little anecdotes here that I have to get into. If you've seen these reviews of mine before, you kind of already know how this works. But if you haven't, I'm going to be talking about what I liked and disliked about the match. But a couple of preliminaries before we begin. In terms of storyline wise, is of course Edge and Randy Orton face off at WrestleMania. That match sucked. So they're having the rematch here. The feud who's still going. Things far from over at WrestleMania, so things carrying on here, and now it's leading into Backlash. Edge got the win in the Last Man Standing at WrestleMania, so who's going to get the win here? However, now for the more personal side of things, and at least from my end, I remember I watched Backlash 2020 live, and I remember back then, I didn't quite like this match as much. I think mainly because it happened so late at night, and I was kind of tired by this point. Uh, I think this is when they were still doing pay-per-views on Sundays, if I'm not mistaken. June 14th of 2020. Or I think this is around when they switched to Saturdays. But I want to be sure or so. June 14th. So almost coming up on the fifth anniversary. Okay, yeah. So this was on a Sunday. I was kind of tired. I still had to go to bed. For uh, cl- uh, or actually no, I was gonna say for class tomorrow, but by this time the semester was over, or this is when I was in college. But I did have to wake up for work the next day. But yeah, I remember not quite liking this as much because I was kind of tired, heard from the day, and that's kind of happened to me nowadays. Now that I work full time and everything, now my body gets automatically tired Friday night and Sunday night, because of coming off the work week and getting up for the work week. But there is that. But even back then, I guess I was getting tired as well back then. But the other reason was that this match is a long one. This is almost at the 45-minute mark, which we're going to address when we get into the actual review proper. But almost at the 45-minute mark. And the fact that it was so late into the show, this was the main event of the show. Oh, I remember being so tired and excuse me, and sometimes that does accidentally affect my judgment because I feel like when you're kind of tired from the rest of or the match could be an absolute banger, but you don't like it as much because you're so exhausted, so you can't be fully invested. Maybe that's just a me thing. Maybe that's just how I operate. Um, but I decided several years down the line I would finally rewatch the match with a fresh set of eyes. But and now that that's out of the way, and we also have to address and the reason I'm addressing it here is because I don't really want to bring it up as we get into the actual review portion because it's not going to affect the overall. overall score or grade of the match or anything because I feel like it wouldn't really be fair. Although it's semi-fair, I guess. You'll see what I mean in a second. But addressing the tagline of this being the greatest wrestling match ever. Now, I do remember this kind of tagline that they were going for this match, this being the greatest wrestling match ever. I remember this coming up kind of late into after this match was announced, and then how it's being billed as the greatest wrestling match ever. It's a very bold tagline to say that this match right here, this match that you're having right here tonight, at this moment on this event, this pay per view slash premium live event, this is apparently the greatest wrestling match ever. It almost seemed like it was doomed to fail from the start, or not necessarily fail, but more so not quite live up to the expectation. Because saying something is the greatest ever, uh, or that's pretty lofty expectations. Now, sometimes we kind of say like casually, like for example, if we're walking down the street, and we find like a $20 bill on the ground or something, we would be like, "Oh man, this is the greatest day ever," right? And we know we don't actually mean it, but that's kind of low stakes, you know. But the fact that WWE puts so much marketing and so much emphasis on this match to the point where they're now getting other wrestlers to weigh in on this match. Something that I don't think I've brought up too much on the channel, but something that AEW does a lot, where they have other people give their expert opinion on it and kind of talk about it in like the hype packages or promos and stuff like that, which I think is actually really cool and adds more importance to it. So I do like that detail. But for this match, I had so many people weighing in who they think is going to win between Edge and Randy Orton. Them putting so much into this match, I think really I think it definitely was supposed to help the match and really help sell the importance of this match. Is this is the greatest wrestling match ever? This is such a big deal. Is this wrestling match? But I think it also but I think it also kind of hindered because with so much emphasis being put on how great this match is going to be, how great how much this is the greatest match ever, you can only essentially go downhill from here, or at least when it comes to living up to those expectations. I think that's the trap this match kind of fell into, which is a shame because this is a pretty damn good match, I must say. Starting with what I like. The match is pretty well done. It's a lot more entertaining and a lot better than the WrestleMania match. Actually, even though it is quite a bit longer than the WrestleMania match, if I'm not mistaken. So this match is about 44 minutes, 45 seconds. I am going to see uh how long the WrestleMania match was. As as also fun fact, this was the last Backlash before they did the WrestleMania Backlash for a couple years later, um and then they essentially went back to just calling it Backlash. And so their match at WrestleMania 36 was it was uh Night two. So 36 minutes, so almost 10 minutes longer than that match. But it definitely this one felt a lot more enjoyable, and having a straight up match between these two, who versus what they did in the Last Man Standing, where they just punched and kicked and then walked around quite a bit, I think was a much better use of both these competitors. And the fact that we got such a story told and such psychology and so many moments of one-upsmanship between both Edge and Randy Orton in the course of this match was really good. The trash talk they did to each other throughout was also very nice, and seeing them bust out the moves of some others, including both men attempting the three amigos. Edge's attempt was successful. Randy Orton hitting the pedigree, Edge hitting the kill switch, Edge hitting a rock bottom even, and I think that did add to the match. Edge did it feel a little cheap? Sure, or I'm sure it can be interpreted that way, but to me it was a nice little addition to the match. which to really help to really, I guess, add emphasis to it. And at the very least it does kind of keep things moving along in terms of this match. Randy, yeah, attempting the punt on some near fall moments as well, which are pretty cool, including after Edge hits his spears and after Randy hits his first RKO. Oh, and Edge kicks out, which not too many people have kicked out of the RKO, but Edge was definitely one of them. And then Randy does successfully hit the punt on, after what they say is a low blow. Oh, admittedly, the angle that they had, I didn't really get a good look at. It looked like it might have been the lower gut. I don't know if he went all the way down to the nether regions, but it did look pretty close before nailing the punt. This was around the time when Randy Orton had brought back the punt because it was gone for a little while. Well, and he had always teased it, but this was around that time he was successful with it. And and I'm not one to I guess body shame or anything like that, but Randy Orton here is in a lot less as better shape than Randy Orton in currently in present day 2025. Like Randy probably truly is in the best shape of his career. But her and actually yeah, Adam Copeland's in pretty decent shape too nowadays, which is crazy to think about. But yeah, moments like that I think really added emphasis to the match and really hyped it up more, really helped prop it up more. But I think it was overall pretty fun and pretty good from both sides in that regard. Having them get more, I guess, creative and having them do more as opposed to their match at WrestleMania 36. It's definitely, I think that's the main takeaway from this match. Is it the greatest wrestling match ever? No. Is it a step up from their match at WrestleMania 36? Oh yeah, and to see the huge step up, I think really helped add to this match. Now Edge would be injured; he would have a bicep injury, so he'd be out for the rest of 2020. So I imagine, and we probably would have gotten a rubber match of sorts, or it's kind of the tiebreaker because Randy Orton does win this match. I imagine we would have gotten a tiebreaker of sorts later on down the line, maybe at Extreme Rules, maybe at SummerSlam, and who knows, but yeah, so Edge would be out for the rest of 2025, unfortunately. And Randy would kind of then transition into his feud with Drew McIntyre, and then and later on this year, or then a feud with the Fiend. But yeah, so this kind of well, with the exception of like the Royal Rumble 2021 where they were numbers 1 and 2. This was kind of the end of the feud that Edge and Randy had, and they did have a really good feud. So to have it culminate in this match here, I think, is a pretty good, pretty satisfying send off to that feud. In terms of what I didn't quite like about the match, for starter. I feel like this match definitely did drag quite a bit. This match was really long, and I guess it's kind of to be expected with such long matches, but this match did drag at points. Thanks again, not as much as the WrestleMania match, which thank God for that, but it kind of did drag on at several different points, which did make it kind of tough to get through at times. Like I said, it's not horrible. Well, it's not really bad, but the amount of length of the match and also with this match, nothing super duper crazy happened. Now, Randy did get busted open, but for a match that's billed as like the greatest wrestling match ever, and I know I just said I wouldn't let it factor in too much, but it does feel like it seeps into it doesn't feel as big as it should. It still felt pretty big, but I think the emphasis and the hype, and I think that's the main thing about this match that really does a disservice is that it's tied to that tagline. So the fact that it can't quite live up to those lofty expectations really does a major disservice to this match, which they did go all out for. They got like the MSG mic. They had Howard Finkel doing the voiceover. By this point, he was deceased. So they did have like the voice lines for when he introduced both Randy Orton and Edge at some point in his career, and they did have Charles Robinson in the shirt and the bow tie. Hey, so much emphasis is in the match. It didn't live up to the tagline of the greatest wrestling match ever because it couldn't. It's like, hey, the thing is, and this is kind of the more, I guess, to the story that everybody knew already, and I guess WWE in this case learned the hard way. Having a match being labeled as the greatest wrestling match ever is not something you can have labeled from Jump Street. You can't go in saying this is the greatest wrestling match ever, because if you do that, then it's literally automatically downhill from there. No, you have to earn that moniker. Now, there's plenty of wrestling matches that people would consider to be potentially the greatest wrestling match ever. It's some would say it's Bret Hart versus Steve Austin at WrestleMania 13. Some would say it's Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker at WrestleMania 25 or 26. Some would say it's Kenny Omega versus Kazuchika Okada at Wrestle Kingdom 17, if I'm not mistaken. And I will look that up to be sure. But some may say it's that there's so many matches that could be considered or or worthy of the moniker of the greatest wrestling match, but that's because as they absolutely earned it. You didn't go in and Wrestle Kingdom 11, that was it. I think Wrestle Kingdom 17, that was this year, but you can't go in saying that something is the greatest ever because it can only not necessarily fail, but it can only go below those expectations. Like, if you're putting so much emphasis on this being the greatest ever from the jump, like, imagine if they did that in movies, like director or of a movie comes out saying his movie is the greatest ever, even if the movie is fantastic. Let's say the movie is fantastic. Let's say the movie is truly awesome. Let's say it's perfect acting, perfect cinematography, perfect musical score, or all that, and it's a fantastic movie. But calling it the greatest ever from the jump without having earned that moniker through, first of all, its own first of all making the movie as great as it is, and then second through other people declaring it the greatest ever, and it's standing the test of time, which I guess is number three. The movie standing the test of time, then it kind of cheapens it in a way, and I think that's kind of where this match falls into. It kind of feels cheapened in a way. Hey, like I said, it's not a bad match. In fact, I definitely recommend checking it out, but it's not the greatest wrestling match ever. Uh, uh, or no matter how much you want to bill it as such, it's not the greatest wrestling match ever. Now, if others had called it the greatest wrestling match ever, or like if it was such a phenomenal match that it earned that title over time, then I think it'd be a different conversation. And do I think Edge and Randy Orton at that point in their careers were capable of putting on the greatest wrestling match ever, or potentially, who's to say? But I think calling it that from the jump is what really did this match in, and that's all this match really gonna be remembered for. Even though it is a really good match, that's what's gonna be remembered for. Not that it actually earned the label of greatest wrestling match ever, but because we had to be told that it was the greatest wrestling match ever. And when you have to be told that it is, therefore it is not. And that, I guess, is the lesson here. Like I said, still recommend it, but hey, is it the greatest wrestling match ever? It is absolutely not. But that is going to do it for this review. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do me a favor. Like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, turn on those post notifications so you know every time I upload a video so you never miss an upload. And let me know in the comments below your thoughts on this match, my review of the match. Do you like the match? And did you like my review of the match? Let me know. But also, I guess while we're on the subject, let me know, what do you all think is the greatest wrestling match ever? For me, that's a tough choice. I've seen a lot of fantastic matches throughout my life. I've even before I started doing YouTube here. So I'm not sure what I would necessarily consider to be the greatest wrestling match ever. Admittedly, I would have to evaluate because there is a lot of matches that could potentially fit that billing. But sadly, this match is not one of them, and kind of because it's kind of oxymoronic, or kind of a conundrum in a way. This isn't the greatest wrestling match ever because it was called the greatest wrestling match ever. But nevertheless, that's going to do it for this review. Thank you all so much for watching. I will see you guys later. Peace.